your job. Maybe you lost a relative to death, or a spouse walked out on you. And you'll feel broken by your circumstances. But you're here tonight. In a few moments, I'm going to give you a challenge to get up out of your seat, come onto this field, take Jesus at his word, give him your life, let him do what you cannot do, and fix that which is broken, even in the midst of the worst circumstances of your life. So this man was broken by circumstances. Number two, he was broken by people. People let him down. It says here in our text, in verse 3, there were crowds of sick people that were laying on the porches. Now, in the ancient cultures, they were not very good at caring for sick people. In fact, in those days and in that place, sick people were often abandoned. They were just left to themselves, put out on the street. They had to beg, they had to congregate together like this. And so in Jerusalem, there was a place called the Pool of Bethesda. It's where they would wash the animals before they would sacrifice them in that huge Jewish temple. It wasn't a very deep pool. It was only about 2 feet, maybe 3 feet deep, a large rectangular pool. But historians tell us that on a normal day, there were probably about 300 people gathered together, sick people all gathered together, abandoned by the rest of the world, all stuck together in that pool. But we're told that this was a festival day. And on a festival day, there weren't 300, but there were up towards 3,000 people in that pool. Now you can just use your imagination. Think of all those people, all those wasted bodies gathered together, and what that would smell like, the stench that would go up from that. If you've ever been to the third world and been into a hospital in a third world country, sometimes you will see not one, but 2 patients in one bed. They don't even know each other. And they have different diseases sometimes. And they're laying next to each other in a bed in a third world country, giving each other more diseases. Their families will often sleep on the floor and cook food in the room to feed the suffering family member. Now, why are they there at the Pool of Bethesda? Well, underneath the ground was a little spring of water, a subterranean spring of water. And every now and then it would bubble. And there was a legend that it was an angel from heaven that caused that water to bubble up. And so everybody wanted to scramble down to the Pool of Bethesda to get into the water when it would gurgle or bubble up. That was a legend that got passed down. So that was what was going on with hundreds, maybe thousands of people in this Pool of Bethesda. They're cast off by society. They're left to fend for themselves in that pool, broken by people. Sometimes we feel broken because we feel cast off by somebody, abandoned by people. People don't want to get involved in our lives because they're just too messy. I guarantee you, out on the streets of Albuquerque tonight, there are hundreds and hundreds of homeless people. All of them feel abandoned by society. There are people that are suffering with the AIDS virus who feel abandoned by society. People tonight in nursing homes that feel abandoned by society and are very lonely. And maybe you feel abandoned, overlooked by somebody who you think should love you. I saw a cartoon one time, maybe you can relate to this, where the little chief character, it was a Peanuts cartoon. I don't know if you remember those from years ago, Charlie Brown and Peanuts. Any old-timers? Okay. Charlie Brown said, "I love the world, it's just the people I can't stand." So this man was broken by circumstances and broken by people. He felt he had no friend in the world until Jesus showed up. And the Bible says, Jesus will never leave you and he will never forsake you. He's a friend that will stick closer to you than a brother.
That's right.
This man is about to find that out. So he's broken by circumstances, he's broken by people, but there's a third reason he was broken. He was broken by time. A lot of time went by. He was there, it says, for 38 years. Jesus saw him and saw that he was in that condition a long time. Time had taken its toll. Whatever hope this man had was long gone. I've heard people say, well, you know, time heals all wounds. That's not necessarily true. When you suffer, time just makes it worse. Time seems to elongate the difficult situation, and it feels longer than ever before. This man was already broken by disease. He was already broken by people's neglect, and now he is facing that same routine of rejection every single day that he gets up. Did you know that Paul the Apostle spoke of the daily pressures of life? And he said at one point, it was beyond my ability to endure, so that we despaired even of life. Some of you can't imagine Paul the Apostle despairing of life, but the Bible says it's true. You see, daily pressures add up over time. Daily pressures become a weekly weight. They become a monthly burden. They become a yearly crush. And that's how this man felt for 38 years. After 38 years, he went from helpless to hopeless. When the saddest day in a person's life is when they come to a point where they lose all hope. But that's what brokenness does. Brokenness can lead to depression, lead to anger, can lead to substance abuse. It can lead to antisocial behavior, even cutting oneself. Self-injury, when a person feels overwhelmed with emotional problems and they feel like they're unable to express their hurt or their pain or their shame or their anger. They don't have the right words. They feel like people don't understand, so they retreat into a shell and they'll cut themselves, they'll hurt themselves. I want you to know something, because I know that I'm speaking to some people who may fall into that category. If you're broken tonight, Jesus Christ wants you just the way you are. Just the way you are. You don't have to change anything. Now, some of you hearing that might say, yeah, preacher, how do you know that's true? Well, because the Bible says the sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart, oh God, you will not despise. So you bring your broken life to Him. He loves it. You know, I had a dad that I thought could fix anything. In fact, he loved a challenge. When there's something was broken, even if there was like a part of one of our cars that was broken, my dad said, I don't need to buy one, I'll make one. He loved the challenge. Your life may be so messed up tonight, I want you to know, give Jesus a chance. He'll love the challenge. He'll put you back together. He'll fix what is broken.